Hey everyone! If you're diving into Ninjutsu Origin, you probably already know how crazy fun it is to collect and upgrade your favorite Naruto characters. But with over 50 units to choose from, it can get pretty overwhelming deciding who to actually focus on for your team. Don't worry though, because in this video, I'm breaking down the ultimate meta tier list so you'll know exactly which characters are worth your time and resources. And hey, if you're just starting out or thinking about re-rolling for that perfect pull, I've got you covered with a quick re-roll guide to help you get the best possible start. So stick around, because whether you want to crush battles or just build the coolest Naruto squad, I'm here to help you get there. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking units in Ninjutsu Origin. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Kankuro, Onoki, Raikage A, and Yamanaka. Alright, let's get real about the D tier units in Ninjutsu Origin, because sometimes, even the underdogs have their moments. But mostly they just remind us why they're, well, in the D tier. First up, we have Kankuro. Sure, he can apply poison, which sounds cool and all. But that damage? It's more like a gentle tickle than a serious threat. His burst potential is basically non-existent, even if you go full offense mode. And don't even get me started on his puppet mechanics. They feel clunky, and honestly, any decent opponent will counter them before you can say Shadow Clone. So yeah, Kankuro is more of a slow burn that fizzles out pretty quickly. Moving on to Onoki, our so-called tank with defense-boosting skills that actually help him survive a bit longer in battle. That sounds promising until you realize his health point scaling is just terrible compared to other tanks. It's like giving a kid a shield made of paper. Sure, it's there, but don't expect it to hold up under heavy fire. Plus, his resistance to crowd control is basically non-existent, so he gets locked down faster than you can blink. Not exactly the rock-solid defense you'd want when things get heated. Then there's Raikage A, who tries to make a splash with a strong initial burst right as he jumps into battle. Unfortunately, that flash-in-the-pan energy disappears super fast because his sustain during longer fights is practically zero. You'll have to pour a ton of resources into him just to make him barely viable in the early stages, which honestly feels like a lot of work for not much payoff. So unless you're ready to baby this guy with heavy investment, he's probably going to sit on the bench. Last but not least, Yamanaka, who offers a little something for the team by removing minor debuffs from allies. That sounds helpful, right? But here's the kicker. His healing output is so weak and unreliable that you're not really going to count on it when the going gets tough. Plus, his buffs only last a short time, so any positive effects are gone before you can make good use of them. Yamanaka's like that friend who means well but just can't quite keep up when the party gets wild. So yeah, D tier might be a rough place to hang out, but hey, at least these guys bring some flavor to the roster, even if it's mostly for comic relief. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Gaara, Karen, Shisui, Shikamaru, Nara, and Sasuke. Alright, now we're stepping up into the C tier squad of Ninjutsu Origin. Think of them as the solid middle children of the roster. They're not exactly stealing the spotlight, but they definitely bring some useful tricks to the table without completely embarrassing themselves. Let's start with Gaara. This guy's all about providing shields that soak up moderate damage, and he passively buffs your whole team's defense, which sounds pretty clutch. But here's the catch. The shield values don't really hold up once you hit the late game. It's like getting a band-aid for a bullet wound. It helps at first, but eventually, you're just gonna need something stronger. Next up is Karen, who tries to play the healer role with some decent burst healing on a single target, and even throws in a slight boost to ally energy regeneration. Sounds like a nice support package, right? The problem is, she's as fragile as a glass doll in a sumo ring, easy to eliminate early on before she even gets a chance to shine. So if you don't protect her well, you're basically wasting her potential. Then we have Shisui, who's basically the ninja equivalent of that annoying dodgeball player who can't be hit. His high evasion rate lets him slip past basic attacks, and to spice things up, he can confuse enemies so they start attacking their own teammates. Pretty hilarious to watch, honestly. The downside? His damage output is kind of underwhelming compared to other mages, so don't expect him to carry the team with raw power. Now, Shikamaru Nara is the ultimate control freak here, and I mean that in the best way possible. His Shadowbind skill is excellent for locking down enemies, and he also slows their attack speed for a bit, which can really turn the tide of a fight. Damage-wise though, not much to write home about. His main job is crowd control, so if you want raw damage, you'll need someone else to step up. Lastly, we've got Sasuke, the classic early game damage dealer with some solid critical hit scaling and the ability to stun targets when he lands skill hits. He's a great pick when you're just starting out and can really dish out the pain. But beware, as the game progresses, higher tier warriors will outclass him fast, and poor Sasuke ends up playing catch-up. Still, he's a reliable go-to for those first battles before you start upgrading your lineup. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Sage Naruto, Obito Uchiha, Six Paths, Obito, Jiraiya, Naruto, Deidara, Itachi Uchiha, Minato, and Sakura. Let's dive into the B-tier heroes of Ninjutsu Origin. These units are like your dependable middleweights. They may not be the flashiest or the strongest, but with the right setup, they can definitely hold their own and even surprise you in battle. Starting with Sage Naruto, he's pretty balanced across the board, boasting solid survivability and damage per second, DPS. What makes him fun is his ability to buff both himself and allies whenever he lands a critical hit, which can really swing fights in your favor. That said, once you hit the late game, his damage tends to fall off compared to the absolute top-tier warriors, so he's a great pick for the mid-game grind, but won't carry you forever. Obito Uchiha is your go-to for strong single-target burst damage, and after he casts his ultimate, he gets a shield that helps him stay alive longer. The downside? He doesn't bring much crowd control or area of effect AoE skills, so he's more of a focused damage dealer than a team disruptor. Speaking of AoE, Six Paths Obito shines with high AoE magic damage and has a neat chakra drain effect that can wear down opponents over time. Plus, he's immune to control effects for a few seconds after using his ultimate, which makes him tough to lock down. The catch is, he's pretty fragile without a dedicated support, so you'll want to pair him wisely. Jiraiya's all about sustainability with high health regeneration and a massive AoE ultimate that can trigger twice if he kills enemies. That sounds awesome, but his damage output is lacking in player versus player, PvP, and late-stage player versus environment, PvE, content, especially against single targets. So he's more of a tanky AoE helper than a damage beast. Classic Naruto makes the list too. He stacks buffs with every attack he lands, which can snowball into some serious damage. He's versatile, able to fill frontline and off-tank roles, but getting him to full DPS potential takes patience and time, so don't expect instant results. Deidara is your explosive AoE specialist with damage over time, DOT, and burn effects that can chain across enemies thanks to his skills triggering explosions. The problem? He's extremely squishy and can get burst down before he really gets to shine, so positioning is key with this guy. Itachi Uchiha brings a dodge-based defensive build that makes him tricky to kill early on, and his ultimate ability can silence enemies, cutting off their skill usage for a time. However, his damage isn't very consistent unless he gets multiple buffs, so he needs a bit of team synergy to maximize his potential. Minato is all about speed and precision with high mobility and teleportation skills that let him move quickly around the battlefield. He can even finish off low-health enemies from the backline, which is clutch. On the flip side, his skills have short durations and rely heavily on cooldowns, so timing is everything when playing him. Finally, Sakura offers reliable healing over time on multiple allies and can cleanse debuffs while buffing attack with her special skill. She's a solid support, but her healing output can't quite match up to the top-tier supports, so she might leave you wanting more in tougher fights. All in all, B-tier has a nice balance of utility and power. They might not be the heroes that make your jaw drop, but they're the ones that can keep your team steady and competitive in most battles. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Hidan, Rinnegan Sasuke, Ninetales Minato Uzumaki, Pain Devapath, Sage Hashirama, Eight Gates Guy, and Kama Baruto. Let's talk about the A-tier units in Ninjutsu Origin. These are the fighters that make you feel like you actually have a shot in those tough battles. They pack some serious heat, while also bringing survival tricks that keep them in the fight longer than most. Starting with Hidan, this guy is basically a tanky nightmare for anyone trying to take him down. He has an insanely high health pool, plus built-in self-healing thanks to his passive skills. What's cooler is that he reflects a chunk of damage right back to whoever dares to hit him, like a walking thorn bush, and when his health drops below a certain point, he gains temporary invincibility, basically saying, "Nope, you're not finishing me off that easily." Rinnegan Sasuke is the definition of a heavy hitter. His single-target skills are perfect for boss fights, tearing through those high-health enemies like they're paper. On top of that, his ultimate applies a strong defense debuff on foes, which means your whole team gets to dish out more damage after that. Oh, and did I mention he's immune to crowd control? Plus, when his health dips below 50%, his damage per second skyrockets. Basically a perfect glass cannon that turns into a flamethrower when he's wounded. Ninetales Minato Uzumaki is a mage with some serious survivability tricks up his sleeve. He boasts a strong area of effect ultimate with high critical scaling, making him great for wiping out groups. Right at the start of battle, he gets a burst of chakra that triggers his ultimate first turn. Talk about coming in hot. Plus, his passive dodge buff makes him surprisingly tough to pin down, which is rare for mage types who usually get melted fast. Pain Diva Path is your go-to guy if you want crowd control on steroids. He has knockbacks, stuns, and other control spells bundled into his kit, which can totally mess with enemy formations. After casting abilities, he shields himself to stay durable, so you don't have to worry about him getting one-shot. His ultimate is brutal too. It removes buffs from all enemies hit, giving your team the upper hand. Sage Hashirama is the frontline boss when it comes to resisting crowd control debuffs like stun or imprison. On top of that, he roots enemies who dare to counterattack, which can completely disrupt enemy damage dealers. His passive skill also slowly heals the entire frontline over time, meaning he keeps the team healthy while messing with opponents' plans. Lastly, 8 Gates Guy is the hype man of stuns and interrupts. He can stop enemy ultimates dead in their tracks with priority attacks, which can turn the tide in clutch moments. When he activates his gates, he deals true damage that ignores defense, meaning no shields or armor can save your foes. Plus, every successful dodge boosts his attack speed, turning him into a speed demon that's as hard to hit as he is to beat. And of course, we can't forget Kama Baruto, the burst damage beast with armor-piercing skills. He can mark targets, making them take amplified damage from all sources, which is insane for team combos. Plus, he recovers chakra quickly after eliminating enemies, meaning he can chain kills and keep the pressure on non-stop. A tier is where raw power meets solid utility. These characters don't just fight, they command the battlefield and make sure you're the one calling the shots. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Pain Naraka Path, Six Paths Madara, Madara White Mask, Indra, Nagato, Tsunade, and Uzumaki Kushina. Alright, welcome to the S-Tier Nin, where the absolute legends of Ninjutsu Origin hang out. These are the units that don't just participate in battles, they own them. If you want your team to feel unstoppable, these heroes are your best bet. Starting off strong with Pain Naraka Path, this guy is basically your team's lifeline. His area of effect healing keeps everyone sustained through the toughest fights, and every time he drops his ultimate, he cleanses irremovable debuffs from allies. Say goodbye to those nasty negative buffs. On top of that, he grants a defense buff to the entire team that scales with his own massive health pool. Basically, he's like a walking fortress, and medic rolled into one. Six Paths Madara is the ultimate powerhouse when it comes to multi-target damage. His ultimate pierces enemy resistances and hits multiple foes, which is crazy useful for wiping out enemy backlines. Plus, his passive chakra regeneration speeds up the entire squad's actions, giving your team that sweet advantage in speed. His ultimate also adds a heavy damage over time debuff while imprisoning enemies, locking them down and melting their health away over time. Madara White Mask is a combo machine with some serious burst potential. He can chain combo attacks that strip armor and shields right off enemies, making them vulnerable for your team to finish off. Plus, he's slippery, dodging attacks and reducing damage taken, and every critical hit he lands stacks an attack buff that just keeps growing. A dangerous foe that only gets stronger as the fight goes on. Indra is the perfect mix of offense and defense, bringing a permanent attack and critical buff to all allies as soon as he steps onto the battlefield. He can shield teammates and dish out huge area of effect damage with his ultimate. Plus, he has the unique ability to transfer debuffs from allies onto enemies. Talk about flipping the script. Nagato is pretty much Indra's twin in power and utility, also giving the team permanent attack and crit buffs on entry, shielding allies, and dealing massive AoE damage with his ultimate. His debuff transfer mechanic can really swing team fights by turning your weaknesses into enemy problems. Tsunade is the queen of healing. with the highest single-target heals in the game that scale based on her own max health. She also grants frontline allies massive defense penetration buffs, helping your team punch through even the toughest tanks. And to top it all off, every heal she casts removes harmful damage overtime effects like bleed, burn, and poison, making her a true lifesaver. Last but not least, Uzumaki Kushina brings serious team resilience. Her passive buff grants all allies bonus tenacity, making them much harder to crowd control. She also stacks speed and attack buffs to keep the momentum going, and when she's about to take fatal damage, she creates a barrier that can save her and her team from disaster. Talk about clutch. In S tier, these heroes aren't just good, they're game changers. They turn battles around, keep your team alive, and crush enemies with style and power. If you're aiming to dominate, these are your must-haves. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.